I dreamed of having sex with my nemesis Hugh Wilson. In the dream, he dropped his usual cold demeanor, whispering Ivy tenderly while doing it. I woke up terrified and deliberately avoided him. At a party, my boyfriend played a dare, holding his childhood friend and performing a courtesy kiss. I stood up coldly, but he called out, "Ivy Smith, it's just a kiss, don't make a fuss. Or pick any guy here to kiss. And I promise I won't get jealous." How about Hugh? He was sure I wouldn't dare. But the next second, Hugh from the corner curved his lips into a smile. "Sure. How many minutes?" "Ivy. How about Hugh?" As Evan's words ended, the private room erupted in raucous laughter. A friend had witnessed our on-again-off-again relationship history spoke up. "Evan, you're asking the impossible. Everyone knows Ivy has an aversion to intimacy. She can't touch any man except you." Making her kiss Hugh. With their history, Hugh would probably get sick. Or Ivy just apologize to avoid Evan getting angry and you begging him later. It wasn't surprising his friends thought that way. This wasn't the first time I'd argued with Evan over Lucy. Before, Evan always gave me the cold shoulder and blocked me on social media. He'd deliberately post photos on his feed of him hanging out with Lucy, eating and having fun, to provoke me. Only when I couldn't stand it and went to him to reconcile would he soften his tone, looking down from his high horse to say, "That's better, Ivy. If anything were really going on with Lucy and me, it would have happened long ago. I just see her as a buddy." But now, this so-called buddy wasn't just sharing a drink with him or hugging him at a bar. They were actually kissing. This time, I refused to put up with it. I swallowed the rising disgust and glanced at Hugh in the corner. With his high-nosed bridge and deep-set eyes, he lived up to his title as the campus heartthrob, but the coldness in his gaze kept everyone at bay. He sipped his drink leisurely, expression unreadable. Of course, Hugh had always disliked me. Every time Evan brought me to gatherings, Hugh made sarcastic remarks. Why would he agree to this dare? What? Scared? Evan sneered, looking smug. "Fine. Just apologize to Lucy, and well, drop it. My reputation as a guy doesn't matter. But Lucy's a girl who says I'm scared." Rage surged in my chest as I cut him off. Striding over to Hugh, Hugh shifted his gaze from his phone screen, eyeing me with a faint smile. "Need something?" "Not really. Nothing major." I swallowed hard, summoning courage. "Just wanted to ask, are you free for a kiss right now?" The room fell silent for a few seconds. Then came wild cheering and shouting. In the past, I would never have made such a request to Hugh Wilson. But just a month ago, I started having a strange dream frequently. In the dream, Hugh, who had always been at odds with me, shed his usual cold demeanor and called me Ivy with a mix of intensity and tenderness while being intimate. We left our passion in every corner of the house. Hugh's physique was like a top male model's, his face demonically seductive, and his attentiveness was so strong that I couldn't resist. Every time I woke up, I felt completely drained. I went to the hospital, but no cause was ever found. Helplessly, I started avoiding him on campus. Now, this small request for a kiss was clearly much tamer than the Hugh I want more in my dream, probably not expecting me to actually speak up. Evan Brown's face darkened instantly as he sneered. "Fine, Ivy Smith. Now you're throwing away all dignity just to spite me. Even if you're willing to throw yourself at Hugh. Do you think he'd bother with you, okay?" A bolt from the blue. Everyone in the room stared in shock toward the other end of the private room. Under the soft lighting, Hugh's handsome profile looked even more defined. He curved his lips into a smile at me, the gleam in his dark eyes full of meaning. "How many minutes do you want to kiss, Ivy?" The steamy scenes from my dream flooded my mind right then. The misty steam, the water sloshing violently in the bathtub. I was held face-to-face by Hugh, my knuckles gripping the edge of the tub desperately. Amid the soreness, his magnetic, enchanting chuckle fell by my ear. "Not satisfied yet? How much longer does my Ivy want to go?" The memory was shattered by the noise around me. Meeting Hugh's ambiguous gaze. My ears flushed uncontrollably. Hugh approached me with a smile. Before I could react, a large hand covered the back of my head. My breath hitched in fear. At the same time, a loud crash came from the side as a glass shattered. Enough. You like playing games? Fine. Evan's face was grim as his eyes swept over Hugh and me. He pulled out his phone, showing a 5-star hotel booking record. Then let's make it bigger. Tonight, Lucy Green and I will check into a hotel for the night. And you and Hugh can do the same. Well, post the photos in the group chat. How about that? Would you dare? Ivy, staring at that aggressive face. My heart plunged into an icy abyss. 2 years ago, I was followed by a group of thugs off campus. Just as they gagged me and were dragging me away, Evan happened by and saved me. From that day on, I started developing feelings for him, bringing him breakfast, buying him bubble tea, handing him water at basketball games. His buddies mocked me as a simp, but I didn't care since they didn't know the backstory. But after finally winning Evan over, his childhood sweetheart Lucy transferred to Hangzhou University. He started attending classes with her, traveling together, hanging out in bars. On Evan's birthday, I waited for a full 3 hours in the KTV room ID decorated carefully before he showed up late. He claimed there was a traffic accident, but that same night, Lucy posted on social media a photo of 2 hands tightly clasped, overlooking the city lights from a mountaintop. The caption read, "Who has such a great friend? Ditching his girlfriend to hike with me." Input: it was mine after all. Below, Evan Brown's like was glaring and painful. I cried and made a scene. Slowly, my affection was worn away bit by bit. Now, only exhaustion remained. Seeing Evan wouldn't budge an inch, Lucy Green stepped forward, took his elbow, and persuaded him. Forget it, Evan. It's no big deal for us buddies to sleep together. We tried it before on that trip. But Ivy is a girl. Having her share a room with Hugh Wilson is really inappropriate. Lucy fluttered her innocent big eyes, speaking as if it were obvious. The last thread in my mind snapped completely at that moment. So, they'd already slept together. I sneered self-mockingly, grabbed Hugh's hand beside me. Fine. Whoever doesn't post a photo tonight will never make any money in their life. After saying that, I ignored Evan's angry shouts behind me and turned to leave the scene. When I got into the taxi, my head was still buzzing and swollen. Hugh beside me spoke slowly. How long do you plan to hold on? I reacted belatedly, yanking my hand away. Sorry. Hugh rubbed his wrist where ID grabbed it, looking at me with a meaningful gaze. So, are we going to the hotel? Back in the private room, I'd just been talking impulsively. Now, thinking about that bet, my heart started to waver. Probably. Hugh didn't want to either, but if I said it out loud, it'd make me look too cowardly. So I tentatively asked in return, do you want to go? Hugh's eyes weighed heavily on me. Silent. I took the hint, cleared my throat, and found a perfect excuse. I saw you seemed to be handling work earlier. If you're busy tonight, I won't waste. You're not busy. Huh? I froze. Then I remembered the rumors on campus. Hugh came from a wealthy family, and girls always flocked around him endlessly. I added, it's so late now. Your girlfriend might demand to know where you are later. I shouldn't disturb you. I don't have a girlfriend. My remaining words got stuck in my throat again. Hugh gazed at me intently, a slow smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Teasing. Besides, my family runs a business. You made such a vicious oath tonight. What if I really never make any money? Seeing me speechless, he leaned in, his intense eyes scanning me as if to see right through me. Ivy Smith, what are you afraid of? Going to a hotel to take one photo? Do you think I'd do something to you? Or he paused, enunciating each word. Is it that you want to do something to me? Dreams of all kinds, dark, light, yellow, flooded my mind at that moment. I shuddered guiltily. You're talking nonsense. At the same time, the group chat on my phone exploded. Evan had uploaded a photo. In the posted photo, he and Lucy Green were lying on the big bed in a 5-star hotel, intimately leaning together for a selfie. He deliberately me. We're done taking photos. How about you and Hugh Wilson? Seeing that I didn't respond promptly, he added smugly, Ivy, if you really can't take the photo, just forget it. Be a good girl and go home. Lock the door. No need to wait for me. Tonight. I'll make do with Lucy for the night. After all, the hotel room is already paid for. I don't know how I got to the hotel. Probably just in a fit of rage. Raged for a moment. When I calmed down, I was already standing at the door of the hotel suite with Hugh. I looked at the suite decor before me, identical to a dream, and was completely dumbfounded. Hugh took off his coat and turned around. Why are you standing there dumbly? Didn't you want to take photos? Oh, right. I snapped out of my daze, pulling him onto the bed, finding the right angle. I took a photo and uploaded it. The group chat instantly exploded. Damn. They really did it. Didn't they say Ivy Smith has emotional purity issues? If they really hook up tonight, wouldn't that make Evan Brown a cuckold? Probably just went to take a photo. What else could happen? Exactly. Would Hugh even look at her? Just as I was about to reply in the group chat, the next second, Evan Brown's phone call came in urgently. He immediately started blaming. Fine. Ivy. You've got guts now. Get out of that hotel immediately. Evan Brown's voice was filled with anger. Beside him, Lucy said guiltily, with a sob in her voice. It's all my fault. I'm usually careless. And during Truth or Dare, I didn't have boundaries, which caused you to quarrel like this. Maybe I should apologize to Ivy in the group chat. What apology? What does it have to do with you? Clearly, she's the one causing trouble, Evan Brown said while sneering. Besides, it's not the first time she's like this. Last time when we went night hiking, she threw a tantrum. I deliberately ignored her, and she still came back sheepishly. I want to see how long she can stay tough this time. Last time, several of us went night hiking. I accidentally sprained my ankle halfway, just as I was about to tell Evan Brown. Lucy beat me to it, timing it perfectly. Ouch! She fell on the path when Evan Brown rushed over. She bit her lip and pretended to be strong as she got up. It's fine. I just sprained my ankle. I can manage on my own. Evan Brown ignored her stubbornness, picked her up in his arms with heartache in his eyes. Behind them, my eyes reddened. Evan Brown. I also sprained my ankle just now. Evan Brown frowned and stared at me. But when he met my gaze, he seemed to understand something and smirked. Don't be silly, Ivy. I know you're jealous. But this is the mountain. It's not safe for Lucy alone. I'll take her to the hospital first. You come down later on your own. After saying that, he strode away without hearing my explanation. That night, I dragged my throbbing ankle along the pitch-black, deserted mountain path for what felt like an eternity. It wasn't until the early hours of the morning that Hugh Wilson's SUV happened to come up the mountain and found me. So, that night, when he disregarded my safety, it wasn't unavoidable. It was deliberate. In the past, hearing something like this would have sent me running to Evan Brown in distress. Strangely, though, I felt no sadness in my heart at that moment. Perhaps the Evan who had once saved me had died the moment he chose to abandon me deliberately. Seeing my silence, Evan's tone softened. Stop being difficult, Ivy. I was just worried about you. Hugh may be my brother, but he's still a man. Be good. Go home first. Lucy Green is scared to sleep alone. I'll come back after I've settled her. No need. I smiled with a sense of release, my voice firm. Evan. We're breaking up. Dead silence fell on the other end of the line. Then came a contemptuous laugh. Fine. How many days is it going to be this time? Ivy Smith. Have I spoiled you too much? Is that why you keep acting out again and again? Break up then. Just don't come begging me later. The phone slammed down angrily. I stood there clutching my phone, my palm slick with sweat. Even though we were broken up, people are emotional creatures. There's always a withdrawal period. Thankfully, I wasn't hung up on sunk costs. All that persistent effort I'd poured in before. Consider it fed to the dogs. I suppressed the hollow feeling in my chest and turned around. The next second, an utterly shocking sight slammed into my vision. Hugh stood there, fresh from the shower with just a towel wrapped low around his hips. Damp strands of hair clung to his forehead. His bare torso revealing a powerful, sharply defined 8-pack. I stared, dumbstruck, gulping involuntarily. But I snapped out of it quickly. Covering my eyes, I fired off a rapid accusation. Hugh, are you insane? What are you doing showering at this hour? Hugh lifted his eyelids lazily, a hint of barely there amusement touching the corners of his eyes. I booked the room. Do I need your permission to take a shower? I was speechless for a moment before retorting. Well, you could at least put some clothes on. A low chuckle rumbled in Hugh's throat. Now you want me dressed. You seemed pretty interested in looking just a moment ago. The sound of fabric rustling filled the silence. When I finally opened my eyes, Hugh had changed into a robe and was pouring 2 glasses of red wine at the bar. The soft, bright light from the bar spilled over him, softening the usual coldness in his features and lending him a surprisingly seductive charm. Care for a drink. Wouldn't want someone nursing a broken heart to start crying. So head heard everything. I straightened my back, walked over, picked up the glass of red wine on the counter, and downed it in one go. Who says I'm heartbroken? I unilaterally dumped him. Hugh Wilson took a sip of red wine, smiling silently. I knew exactly what was on his mind. Just like those brothers who mocked me. He probably thought I'd beg Evan Brown to get back together within days. But this time, it really won't happen. Another glass of red wine went down. My mind felt foggy and emboldened by the alcohol. I insisted, don't you doubt it, I'm genuinely breaking up this time. Seeing Hugh still silent, a wave of frustration choked my chest, leaving me breathless. And I declared righteously, I begged him to reconcile before because I still liked him. But I don't like him anymore. Besides, what's so great about Evan? That thing isn't as big as yours. As the words fell, Hugh's hand froze while swirling the wine glass. Then the air plunged into an eerie silence. His gaze lifted, locking onto mine with eyes dark as a deep pool, as if suppressing some restless emotion. After a long pause, he raised an eyebrow and asked, how do you know I'm bigger than him? Have you peeked? Oh no. In a moment of excitement, I blurted out my inner thoughts. Watching him step closer step by step, I panically backed up against the cabinet. Whether it was the alcohol or not, my heart pounded like a drum in my chest. But I couldn't possibly admit that I'd already slept with him thoroughly in my dreams. All I could do was stammer guiltily. "You just guessed." Hugh lowered his eyelids slightly, clearly unconvinced. "Oh yeah. Guessed based on what?" Seeing me stay silent, a knowing smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Ivy Smith. You've been coveting me all along." "Bullshit." I instinctively puffed out my chest. But the next second, he grabbed my wrist, pinning me against the cabinet door. His warm breath brushed my ear as Hugh's deep voice carried a teasing tone. "Still denying it. No wonder you always found excuses to chat with me at every party. But does Evan know you've been thinking about me like this right in front of him? That's narcissism squared. At every past party, whenever Evan showed concern for me, Hugh would mock us sarcastically. Each time I got furious, I couldn't help firing back. Now it's twisted into me pining for him. I reflexively retorted. "I was mocking you, Hugh." "Same thing. You talked to me either way. And I saw you batting your eyes at me." My eyes widened in anger. My face flushed red as I retorted. "When did I ever bat my eyelashes flirtatiously? If you don't want your eyes, just donate them. Okay. Besides, Every time it's clearly you who starts with the snide remarks first. Could it be that you've been coveting me for a long time? As the words fell, the air grew silent. Hugh Wilson's eyes reflected my face at that moment. And he spoke word by word. Indeed. Coveting for a long time. My mind went blank in an instant. I swallowed hard, asking in disbelief, "What did you just say?" A smile played at Hugh's lips as he leaned in half a step closer. The scorching heat of his breath kept warming my face, throwing my heartbeat out of rhythm. I said, "I have indeed been coveting you for a long time. Want to give it a try?" Ivy Smith. Probably from the alcohol hitting me. In my daze, I felt like I was still in a dream. Later, I couldn't tell if it was his lips accidentally brushing my forehead first or my weak legs causing me to grab his Adonis belt by mistake. Anyway, that night, the darkness spread to the bed. Everything was dreamlike and surreal. Several times, I nearly drowned in the intensity, only to be pulled back for a breath by Hugh. He deliberately controlled the pace until, in the end, I had no strength left, pushing him away in tears. "Hugh, you jerk. You weren't like this last night at all." Last night. Hugh paused, his tone coaxing. Then what was I like in Ivy's dream? Holding back tears at the corner of my eyes, I murmured plaintively, "You were so gentle last night." "Is that so?" Hugh bent down to kiss away my tear, saying softly, "Then I won't bully you anymore." Okay. When I woke up the next day, my entire body felt as if all my bones had turned to jelly. But the moment I opened my eyes, I stared at this familiar face that shouldn't have been here. The strings in my mind snapped one by one. Last night wasn't a dream. Seeing Hugh's eyelids twitch, I jolted in fright and sat up in bed. We'd both been drinking last night at best. It was just drunken recklessness. A casual fling. Right. Hugh and I had never gotten along before. So how could he possibly like me? Yet, the thought of those intimate details from last night made me feel utterly mortified. Unable to face him. Seizing the chance while Hugh was still asleep, I frantically gathered my things and left the hotel. Arriving at the lecture hall, as expected, gossip filled the air. "Evan Brown. Heard that last night Ivy broke up with you again." A buddy nearby sneered. "She does this every time. Evan's used to it. I bet it'll only last 2 days this time." 2 days. Want to bet she can't resist bringing Evan breakfast in a bit. Shoo. Here she comes, ignoring their strange stares. I walked into the classroom and found a seat far from Evan. For the rest of the class, I constantly felt a burning gaze fixed on me from behind. Finally making it through, I picked up my textbook and was about to head to the next class when a hand slammed onto my desk. Evan shot me a glance, a forced coldness on his face. "Hey, where's my breakfast?" "What breakfast?" I asked coldly. He turned to look at me, then couldn't help but laugh out loud. "All right. Are you still mad? You little jealous one. Last night was my fault. I shouldn't have provoked you like that. What time did you get home? Why didn't you tell me?" Seeing that I didn't speak, he reached out to pinch my cheek, but I dodged it. He could only say helplessly, "Are you really not bringing me breakfast just because you're mad?" Indeed. After you stop liking someone, what you hear is the real feeling. In the past, I always thought Evan Brown was making excuses for me, a symbol of his love. But now it sounded so sleazy. "I really didn't bring you breakfast." I calmly met his gaze and said, "Because I didn't go home at all last night." The air seemed to freeze for a few seconds. Then came Evan's contemptuous laugh, as he said smugly, "Didn't go home? Then where else could you go?" I looked at his confident face and sneered. "Evan, have you forgotten we had a bet last night? You spent the night with Lucy Green. The first spent the night with Hugh Wilson. If you doubt it, go ask Hugh to verify." Seeing Evan's face turn dark uncontrollably, I didn't want to waste any more words. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. "What do you mean? Did you cheat on me?" I was angered and laughed at his twisted logic. "The bet was your idea. Since you could sleep with Lucy, why can't I sleep with Hugh? It's not the same. Anger surged in his eyes. And he raised his voice. Lucy and I are buddies. And you? What are you and Hugh? Buddies. I sneered and shook off his hand. So you call that holding hands, kissing, even sleeping together, buddies? Then consider me and Hugh buddies too. Fine. You better not regret it. I ignored Evan's anger behind me and walked away without looking back. That noon, I received a call from a listed company in Hangzhou asking if I could start in a week. Before, Evan and I had agreed to stay in Jingbei after graduation and even interviewed into the same company. He just didn't know that I hated Jingbei's weather and the hectic life here. If it weren't for him, I definitely wouldn't have stayed. And now that we'd broken up, I naturally had no reason to remain. For the rest of that day, Evan didn't send me a single message. Instead, I received several friend requests from Hugh Wilson, but I didn't accept them. As evening fell, Lucy Green's social media feed showed a video of her bungee jumping with Evan Brown. Their bodies embraced intimately as they leaped into the canyon. I smirked and clicked like. The next second, Lucy's voice message arrived. Ivy. Don't misunderstand. Today's my birthday. I wanted to bungee jump but was scared. So I asked Evan to join me. Last night, he stayed because I couldn't sleep. We're really not what you think. Lucy's explanation was cut short when Evan snatched her phone and typed. Ivy Smith. Have some shame. You messed up first yet dare to bother Lucy. Don't contact me this week. Reflect on yourself. Nausea rose in my throat, swallowing the urge to vomit. I opened Evan and Lucy's WeChat and blocked them both. I couldn't stand staying in Beijing any longer. With that thought, I messaged HR. Professor, I confirm I can start as scheduled next week. Returning to Evan's apartment, I packed my luggage, scanning the place I'd called home for nearly 2 years. I sometimes wondered, why had one act of heroism from Evan made me sink so deep? Maybe because my father died young, and my mother unwilling to remarry with a burden like me left me with my uncle. One night in 9th grade, my delinquent cousin stumbled home drunk, pounding on my door while slurring threats like "I'll ruin you." Trembling, I curled up in the corner and called the police. After the settlement, my aunt called me a home-wrecking seductress and threw me out. Having lost my shelter so young, I'd clung desperately to the first umbrella over my head. I'd forgotten. You must love yourself first. Sighing, I turned to leave just as the door swung open. I collided with Evan returning home. He stared, stunned, clearly not expecting me. His earlier arrogance had vanished, replaced by flickering guilt. Then I saw its source. Lucy standing behind him. Lucy's apartment has no water, so she's crashing here a few nights. He stammered. When I stayed silent, he gulped. I'll take the couch tonight. You two share the bed. Unnecessary, I said coldly, eyeing them. Let her have the master bedroom. I'm leaving, hoisting my suitcase. I moved past them. Evan blocked the doorway. Seriously, Ivy, is this necessary? He demanded incredulously. She's a girl with no wateries. One night too much. Since when are you so heartless? Rage surged through me. Pointing at Lucy, I retorted. How many times have you slept together? Yet you dare ask. Should I livestream you two to prove it? He froze. We're done. Evan, she can stay here whenever she wants now. Congratulations to you both on your future baby. Shoving past him, I staggered out. Evan Brown froze behind me, then chased after. Just as I was about to hail a taxi, a Porsche Panamera pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, and Hugh Wilson sat in the driver's seat, gazing at me intently. Want a ride? You've got 3 seconds to decide. I glanced back at the person behind me, opened the car door, and got in. Inside the car, I was bombarded with messages from Evan. I knew you and Hugh had something going on. Ivy Smith. Get out now. Come back and apologize. And we might still have a chance. Otherwise, Let's call it quits. And don't even think about joining the same company as me like some pest. My head throbbed as I read. So I blocked him. The car fell silent. Only the hum of the air conditioning filling the space. Hugh glanced at me, breaking the quiet. Before you drown in your breakup sorrow, maybe consider that there's a loser here you slept with and tossed aside. I'd never seen anyone call themselves a loser. I was speechless for a moment before retorting. So what do you want? Hugh's slender fingers tapped leisurely on the steering wheel as he spoke. Since you're single again, taking responsibility for me isn't too much to ask, is it? His eyes held a deep intensity as he added in a victim's tone, word by word. After all, you heartlessly took my first time. I'd seen people act shameless, but never this brazenly. I pulled up photos from the campus web's Hugh's fan page and showed him. Look, every time someone sneaks a shot, your girlfriends could circle the globe. Stop joking around. Hugh glanced at the screen, rubbing his temples helplessly. Not to make fun, but I suspect the photographer is my biggest hater. These are all from group events on and off campus. Yet they always crop it to show me with a girl at the exact moment. Isn't that just to smear me? Plus, do you see any inappropriate behavior in those photos? In all your years at Peking University, have you ever heard of me admitting to a girlfriend? After that, I fell silent. It was true campus gossip painted Hugh as popular with women, but had never acknowledged a single relationship. Yet I was set to start a job in Hangzhou in a week, so I couldn't take responsibility. Thinking this, I patted his hand. Drop me off at the apartment ahead. I'm heading to my best friend's place. The car pulled over. I pushed open the door and smiled at him. I know it's awkward, but that night we were just drunk and caught up in the moment. If all else fails, consider it a free ride on me. Sorry. As I finished, my wrist was grabbed. Hugh glared at me, his face dark, but his tone pleading. Then at least accept my friend request. We wouldn't lose even friendship. Right. I thought for a moment and reluctantly clicked agree. The following week, I stayed at my best friend Mia Johnson's place. After wrapping up my university thesis defense, I packed up and embarked on my new journey. The night before leaving, Mia took me to a bar in Beijing for a farewell party. After a few drinks, I stared at the male models on stage, entranced. See, while you were with Evan, you missed out on all those hot guys with perfect 8-pack abs. You're leaving tomorrow tonight. Sis is showing you a good time. I smiled and took a sip of my drink. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in my ear. I followed the sound and saw Evan Brown and Lucy Green sitting right in the next booth. When I looked over, my eyes met Evan Brown's intense gaze. After a week apart, tension simmered beneath the surface. Damn, isn't that the jerk and the bitch? Mia Johnson had barely finished speaking when Lucy Green suddenly stood up for some reason. She tripped over someone sitting nearby and fell straight onto Evan Brown's lap. The moment was both suggestive and blatant, sparking a round of teasing from the neighboring booth. Lucy Green said shyly, "Oh, come on. Stop all the jeering, it's embarrassing with everyone watching." Evan Brown stared straight at me, his hand resting on Lucy Green's waist without pushing her away. I calmly looked away. This time, there were no ripples in my heart. Arriving in Hangzhou, on my first day at the new job, I followed the manager to meet a client from Beijing. But when the other party stepped into the private room, I froze. There was Hugh Wilson in a perfectly tailored suit, efficiently shaking hands with the manager before brushing past me and taking the main seat. The manager beamed as he introduced, "Hugh, this is Ivy, who just joined our company. Like you, she graduated from Peking University. She's practically your junior." Peking University has a long tradition of alumni supporting each other. Only then did I understand the manager's intention in bringing me to this dinner. To use the alumni connection to build rapport. Hugh Wilson looked up at me with a half smile, his expression unreadable. I've heard Ivy was quite outstanding at our school." At those words, My face flushed hot and cold. Goodness knows how helpless I felt just after saying I'd freeloaded off him. He became my client. "Hello, Hugh," I said awkwardly, nodding at Hugh Wilson. The manager urged me impatiently, annoyed at my hesitation. "Ivy, what are you standing around for? Offer a toast." I snapped out of my daze and was about to raise my glass when a large hand took the cup from mine and set it on the table. "Manager, I'm allergic to alcohol. So from now on, just serve Coke at my dinners. Besides, Wilson Corporation values partners based on hard skills. As long as your product's technology is solid, we can discuss business without drinking." Allergic to alcohol. But that night, Hugh Wilson had clearly drunk red wine right in front of me. "Liar," I muttered under my breath. When I looked up, I met Hugh Wilson's amused gaze. Unaccountably, I blushed with guilt. Because we were alumni and after Hugh Wilson's behavior that evening, the manager assumed we had a close personal relationship. So all follow-up projects were assigned to me. I worked overtime drafting the contract and sent it to Wilson Corporation's email. But there was no response. I wasn't sure if Hugh Wilson resented me after all. That freeloading remark had sounded truly hurtful. After 2 workdays with no word, I had no choice but to call him. The line was noisy, as if he was at a drinking party. When he answered, Hugh Wilson sounded slightly surprised. "Ivy." Probably because he'd been drinking. His voice was smooth and magnetic. That night, he'd used the same tone to whisper Ivy in my ear. My ears flushed red as I stammered. "Hello, Hugh. I sent the draft contract to your company email. Have you had a chance to look it over? If you have any suggestions, you can tell us directly. And we'll continue to improve it." After saying that, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then came Hugh Wilson's helpless laugh. "You, Ivy, when did you become so polite?" My throat felt blocked. I changed to a tone of speaking to a peer. "So, may I ask if you've read it?" Hugh didn't answer directly. Instead, he seemed to be giving instructions to his assistant. I was unsure and hurriedly added, "Hugh, I know we didn't get along well before, but in business, I think you're a person who can separate business from personal feelings." Just as I finished speaking, Hugh on the other end seemed to be taken aback, and then he chuckled. "I was just confirming the email with my assistant. Now print out the contract and bring it here. I'm at King House." Was the contract going to be signed just like that? I couldn't help asking in confusion. "Don't you need the legal department to take a look?" "No, I don't need to." Even after hanging up the phone, I still couldn't believe it. But since the client was willing to sign, I had no reason to say more. I quickly printed out the contract and rushed to the address Hugh mentioned. It was a private members-only club. When the assistant came out to lead me in, I heard a conversation at the door of the private room. "You really set up a branch in Hangzhou. Are you going to work here from now on? Does your grandfather have no objections?" "Yes. Hangzhou has great development potential, but it can't compare with the deep roots your family has in Beijing." "Right. I've heard some rumors recently." "Hugh, be honest. Are you here to chase a girl?" My heart was inexplicably stirred by these words. I couldn't help holding my breath. The assistant led me to push open the door. When they saw me, Hugh's group of friends looked at each other and smiled, as if they understood everything without saying a word. At the dinner that night, Hugh helped me fend off the drinks from his friends, until he got drunk and leaned on my shoulder in a daze. One of his friends who had been looking at me all night suddenly seemed to realize something and clapped his hands. "I remember. I was wondering why you looked so familiar. You're the junior sister that Hugh saved desperately back then." It was as if something in my mind had shattered. I was stunned for a while and then asked in confusion, "You mean Hugh saved me before?" "Yes. About 2 years ago, I went to Beijing University to hang out with Hugh. You were cornered in an alley by a group of guys. Hugh stopped the car and wanted to save you. His junior, Evan, told him not to meddle. But Hugh just pushed open the car door and rushed out. And we had to follow him. Later, Hugh was called away by his dad because of something. And he asked Evan to take you to the hospital. I knew Hugh liked you. He's not the type to meddle in other people's business. It was like a thunderbolt hitting my mind. I stood there, stiff all over. So, Evan not only wasn't the one who saved me, but he was the one who advised others not to meddle. No wonder every time I mentioned this incident later, Evan always looked strange and told me not to bring it up. And it was actually Hugh, who had always been sarcastic to me, who saved me. But now that I think about it, those so-called sarcasms were actually another kind of reminder. Reminding me that Evan back then didn't love me as much as I thought. Thank you for letting me know the truth. I helped you up and said goodbye to everyone. I'll take him home first. The assistant drove us back to Hugh Wilson's home. He tossed Hugh onto me. Miss Ivy Smith, I'm truly sorry, but I have to catch a late-night flight back to Beijing. Mr. Hugh Wilson is in your hands now. With that, he drove off before I could say a word, the car roaring away into the wind. I carried Hugh, struggling to unlock the door with my fingerprint, after finally getting him into the bedroom and onto the bed. In the next second, the person before me suddenly sprang up like a carp leap. Hugh pinned me beneath him, his hot breath washing over my neck, sending tingles through me. I tried to push him away, and his eyes fluttered open drowsily as he said bitterly, "Why do you hate me so much?" I froze, not wanting to argue with a drunk. "Hugh, I don't hate you." "Then why did you run off after sleeping with me?" He pointed a shaky finger at me, stammering, I had to come to Hangzhou to find you." So, he really came to Hangzhou because of me. Otherwise, how could it be such a coincidence that I came to Hangzhou for work, and Hugh's family's new branch opened here? I lowered my gaze and confessed, "Hugh, I just didn't know how to face you. Anyway, you're drunk, so I'm not afraid to tell you before that night. I kept dreaming about you, and I started to wonder if something was wrong with me. Besides, we're from completely different worlds. There's no future for us." At that, Hugh's gaze on my dazed eyes paused, gradually clearing. Realizing he wasn't drunk, I immediately shoved him off. Hugh slowly rose, his eyes filled with remorse as he looked at me. "I'm sorry for deceiving you just now, Ivy. I just wanted to know why you've been avoiding me. Call me self-absorbed or presumptuous if you want. But that night, I could see you didn't dislike me entirely. I don't know about those dreams you mentioned. But as for saying we're from different worlds," he walked up to me, took my hand, and said earnestly, "I was lifted up by my family, given the best education, and only then did I stand before Peking University's gates. You did it all on your own. How can you think you're inferior to me?" What I've liked from the start is the you who struggled with English pronunciation but forced yourself to perfect a standard American accent in 3 months just to win a prize. It's the you who, faced with someone more powerful, never cowered, only thinking about how to one day stand at their height. Ivy Smith. It's the you who, in the freshman representative speech, declared, "Youth is fleeting, but the spring of life never fades." And with all that, you think you don't measure up to me. Let alone Evan Brown. He doesn't appreciate you. Can you give me a chance to try? Something soft inside me seemed to be struck. Perhaps while you're admiring the view from the bridge, someone below is watching you. That night, when Hugh's lips met mine, I didn't push him away, and I was absolutely sure I wasn't drunk. The master bedroom's large bed creaked heavily. I didn't notice the phone on the nightstand vibrating wildly, filled with Evan's endless texts. "Ivy Smith, why didn't you show up for your first day at the new company today? I checked with HR, said you declined the offer, just because of Lucy Green's little issue. Where are you? Call me back." Lucy Green confessed to me, and I turned her down. "Ivy, I honestly didn't know she liked me. I always thought we were just buddies. Can you call me back?" "I'll stop talking to Lucy." "Okay. I heard you went to Hangzhou. Right. Fine. Wait there. I'm coming to find you. The next morning, I woke up and rubbed my sore thighs. Just as I was about to get up, someone grabbed my wrist and pulled me into their embrace. Hugh Wilson wrapped his arms around me from behind, his voice tinged with unease. Where are you going? Are you abandoning me again? I sighed wearily. I'm not running away. I just wanted some water. Really? He sat up in bed, his face lighting up with hope. What would you like? Warm water. Honey water. I also have lemonade at home. Smiling, I said anything's fine while unlocking my phone. A flood of messages and missed calls poured out, all from a new number. As I read the latest message, the doorbell rang at Hugh's apartment. Following Hugh to the door, I watched as it swung open. Evan Brown stood there, his eyes bloodshot as they flickered from Hugh's bare torso to my pajama-clad figure. Hugh, you fucking bastard. Stealing my girl, he roared, lunging forward only to be met with Hugh's fist crashing into his face. Blood trickled from Evan's lip, yet he still tried to retaliate. All the pent-up frustration from these past weeks surged through me. I stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. Evan clutched his cheek, tears welling in his eyes. Ivy, I was wrong. Okay. I just found out Lucy Green has been posting those vague, manipulative things on social media to sabotage us. I was misled. His words reignited the fury inside me. With a cold laugh, I met his gaze and delivered another stinging slap. Evan, I never realized you were not only shameless but completely without principles. Misled. Did Lucy hold a knife to your throat when you slept together? When you kissed her at the bar? Did someone force your head down too? If you'd just admitted you fell for someone else, I might have respected you a little. But this, you disgust me. Evan's face went deathly pale. I'm sorry. I thought we were just having a fight. I never imagined. Ivy, I still love you. The hypocrisy made me scoff. Your love left me walking alone all night on a mountain trail with a sprained ankle. If Hugh hadn't passed by that day, did it ever cross your mind I could have been in danger? That I'm a woman too. Stunned by the revelation, Evan staggered backward. He reached for my hand, but I jerked away as he kept apologizing. I'm sorry. I truly didn't know you were hurt. Exhaling deeply, I shook my head. It's over. Evan, we've broken up. I have a new boyfriend now. Please don't bother me again. I pushed him toward the doorway. Before closing the door, I added one final remark. Oh. And just so you know, I only liked you because I mistook you for the one who saved me that night. It wasn't that I suddenly stopped liking you. It was that I had been liking the wrong person all along. In the days that followed, Evan Brown was like a headless fly, always appearing near my company. He just didn't disturb me. I heard from Mia Johnson that the company in Beijing had inexplicably fired him after just a few days on the job, and he was now unemployed. As for whose doing that was, I looked at Hugh Wilson busy in the kitchen and smiled wryly. Today's sweet and sour ribs had a really strong vinegar taste. As for Lucy Green, after being rejected by Evan, she posted ambiguous conversations online trying to seek justice. But resourceful netizens dug up a video of her taking turns sitting on several men's laps at a bar, along with her wild past from her time abroad where she partied hard. She tried to expose others but got exposed herself. And Peking University revoked her exchange qualification, forcing her to slink back overseas. On the winter solstice, heavy snow fell. I didn't know how many days Evan had been waiting for me downstairs at my place when the property management messaged me about it. I was in Beijing. I happened to be heading back to Hangzhou to handle my resignation. I had Hugh wait for me in the car, got out, and walked over. The moment he saw me appear, a light sparked in Evan's eyes. Ivy Smith. You finally came. I convinced my family to let me stay and work in Hangzhou, and I bought a place. From now on, I'll be developing my career here. Congratulations. Anything else? His eyes flickered with a hint of pleading. Could we? No. I raised the ring on my hand. I'm engaged. And after today, I'll be going back to Beijing with Hugh to build our future there. Probably not expecting things to go this way. Evan panicked. Then, what about me? I don't know. It's none of my business. After saying that, I turned and walked toward the car. Behind me, Evan called out, Ivy, can I ask you a question? I turned back, met his uneasy expression, and he hesitated. Is he good to you? I looked toward the figure waiting quietly in the car and answered firmly, yes. He's inherently a very good person. My shoes stepped onto the snowy ground, making a muffled crunch. Remember for this lifetime, love the one who is inherently good.